Hi, everyone. You are listening to Radio Cherry Bomb, and I'm your host, Kerry Diamond, coming to you from Newsstand Studios at Rockefeller Center in the heart of New York City. We are dropping a Wednesday episode because one of our favorite guests, Molly Baz, is back, and she has some fun news. She is launching her first product line. It's called Ayoh, and her debut product is, surprise, mayonnaise, a divisive product for sure, but one I happen to love. If you're not Team Mayo, hang on. Don't leave just yet. Molly and I catch up on lots of things, including her new life as a mom, her unexpected role as a breastfeeding champion, go Molly, or feeding your baby in whatever way works for you. I also find out what she's making for Thanksgiving. We talk turkey, of course, and my favorite, the Thanksgiving leftover sandwich. Stay tuned for my chat with Molly Baz. Today's episode is presented by Kerrygold. Have you noticed that butter is having a moment? I've seen handbags sculpted out of butter, little couches made from butter pats, tiny butter cherubs, even butter-colored nail polish and fashion. The world is butter obsessed. But you know who loves butter more than most? The folks at Kerrygold. They've been perfecting their craft for decades, using milk from Irish grass-fed cows to create their famously rich, creamy, golden butter. There's a reason Kerrygold is beloved by everyone from home cooks to the world's top culinary creatives. It's just better butter. Kerrygold salted pure Irish butter has a butterfat content of 80%, while the unsalted version has a butterfat content of 82%. And that beautiful yellow color, it's thanks to beta-carotene, found naturally in milk from grass-fed cows. Want to get in on the fun? Get yourself some Kerrygold and whip up some flavored compound butter, fill some fancy butter molds, or sculpt one of those gorgeous butter mounds for your next dinner party or get-together. Visit KerrygoldUSA.com to learn more, get recipes, and find a stockist near you. If you're looking for a great holiday gift, we have lots of options for you at cherrybomb.com. There's the Cherry Bomb membership, which comes with lots of perks, our C-Suite membership for the power babe in your life, subscriptions to our print magazine. Yes, we have a print magazine, and it is gorgeous, and tickets to our upcoming Jubilee Conference, taking place April 12th in New York City. Jubilee is one of, if not the, largest gathering of women and culinary creatives in the food and drink space, and it is always a great day. Tell someone you love that they are the bomb. Visit cherrybomb.com for all of this and more. Now, let's check in with today's guest. Molly Baz, welcome back to Radio Cherry Bomb.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be back.
You are a mom. Since I saw you last, you gave birth to the world's cutest baby.
Oh my God, stop. I know. How crazy that I get to be categorized as mom now. It's like chef, cookbook author, mom. That's new.
I have to ask, how is Tuna? Is Tuna doing okay with a
Man,
sibling?
I'm so glad you asked. Here she is. She's
Aw.
right here with me. She's recording right next to me.
Hi,
I would
Tuna.
say I would give her like a 5 out of 10 on how she's handling being a
Oh,
sibling. But we can only go up from here. It's a big transition for her, and I have faith in her.
is she jealous?
She's just skeptical.
Okay.
She's like, what is this thing that like these limbs are flailing around and like you seem to be holding him in your arms 90% of the day instead of me. So like what exactly has happened here?
For those of you who are like, what is Tuna? Who is Tuna? I know a lot of you know because Tuna was in Cherry Bomb when we shot Molly. But Tuna is Molly's beloved dachshund.
Yeah, she's a little teeny tiny weenie.
Is Mr. Boots, now Mr. Boots is the baby, not the baby's real name, but is Mr. Boots crawling?
No, not yet. Mr. Boots is 5 months in like a couple of days. And so he's rolling, but not crawling. We still have peace at the house. I am excited for the chapter when he starts moving around, and I'm also terrified because right now I can like plop him down, walk in the other room and like make myself a cappuccino and he can't get anywhere. And that's about to change. So let's check in like a couple of months and see how I'm doing.
I predict Mr. Boots and Tuna will be best friends.
Yeah, I think so too.
Aw, I can't wait for that. We've got a lot to talk about. You have been so busy. It just blows my mind, all the things that you've been doing. But we're going to start with your newest project. You are finally doing a product line. I know this personally. Your fans have been clamoring for this for a long time. Tell us the name of it and what it's all about.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm launching a line of products called Ayoh. There's 2 ways to describe this line. You can either understand them as sando sauces because they are a line of condiments that are meant to upgrade your sandwiches, your sandwich game at home. Or, as I like to refer to it, it's mayo gone wild. It's everything you love about classic mayo, which is that it's adding fat and moistness and creaminess and flavor to your sandwich, except for I went ahead and added tons of ingredients and texture and flavor into each of the different SKUs and made a product that is kind of somewhere between like a sauce and a mayonnaise and is really incredible on sandwiches and also awesome as salad dressings. And you will potentially catch me dipping chips and French fries into it as well.
Oh, yum. Why would you start with the world's most divisive condiment?
Because I feel like controversy is a great place to start. You know how they say that all press is good press? That may not necessarily always be the case when it comes to mayonnaise. I think it is. But mostly because I identified what I think is a white space in the market here. And that's always obviously a great place to start when you're trying to come up with a product. You know, I walk down the aisles of the grocery store and I spend a lot of time in the condiment section because I love condiments. And I noticed that there are like a million iterations of every condiment in the world. And then you get to the mayonnaise department, and it's kind of like everybody's making plain mayo. And then there's like a couple of players in the game who are making spicy mayo, like sriracha mayo or like chipotle mayo. But then that's kind of where it ends. There's like a couple of brands who have dipped their toe in flavored mayonnaise, but really it's a category that has stayed pretty down the middle and hasn't veered off course much. And I feel like mayonnaise is just a canvas for flavor. Fat carries flavor.
I ask that question with all due respect because I adore mayonnaise.
Okay,
I
good. So
absolutely love mayo. I'm team
you're on the
mayo.
right side of things.
There hasn't been a lot of mayo disruption. You've got
No.
Big Mayo, represented by Hellmann's. They still probably control a massive amount of the market. Sir Kensington came in, definitely tried to disrupt things a bit. But in the indie CPG arena, not too much.
No, there's a lot going on in the hot sauce world. There's a lot going on in the olive oil world. There's a decent amount going on in Vinegar Town. Chili crisps, etc., have blown up, but very few brands have touched mayo. And I think that's a missed opportunity. So I took the opportunity upon myself. I am a devout sandwich lover. And I think maybe you recall I used to have a sandwich podcast where I would just like tackle a different iconic American sandwich in every episode. It was during the pandemic. I had nothing else to do. And I was like, let's talk about sandwiches.
Wait, I had no idea. I thought I knew everything about you. What was this podcast called?
It was called The Sandwich Universe, and it was hosted by me and one of my best friends, Declan, who is Mary Sue Milliken's son.
Are you going to bring it back with the launch of Ayoh?
Maybe. It feels like there needs to be a season 2. Season 1, we hit the kind of 10 most quintessential American sandwiches, and each one was a deep dive into its history and created what we think is like the ultimate version of that sandwich on the pod. But it was during that time that I like really entrenched myself in sandwich making at home. I was eating sandwiches out in the world. It was like a great thing during the pandemic to grab and go when you weren't sitting inside. I became pretty sandwich obsessed, and I noticed that sandwiches that we get out in the world are phenomenal. Like there's so many incredible sandwich shops because they have time and resources to like pull out all the stops and make fun condiments and pickle their own onions and make their own fermented hot sauces and do all the things that really elevate a sandwich. And then you get back to your home kitchen and it's like, nobody's going to do that for a sandwich. Maybe they'll project something like a Thanksgiving meal, but like no one's spending hours and hours crafting a perfect sandwich at home because who's got time for that?
We'll be right back with today's guest. This episode is presented by Meridian Printing, the family-owned printing company based in East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Meridian has printed Cherry Bomb magazine for the past several years, and it's always a pleasure working with the team at Meridian. They are meticulous and professional and care more than any other printer we've ever worked with. They are amazing partners. When I wanted to print 3 covers of our Icons issue, they said no problem. When I wanted to put a Molly Boz poster in every copy of our Molly issue, they said we got it. And they were amazing about helping us get the pink shade just right for our new Ina Garten issue. If you have an idea for a magazine or a zine, or maybe you want to do books on demand, you should talk to the team at Meridian Printing. Visit meridianprinting.com for more information. You're launching with 4 flavors, right?
Yeah. So we have an original mayo, which is just creamy mayo that I'm hoping will hang with the rest of the bigwigs in the aisle. I've been like a Duke's fan as of late. I grew up on Hellman's and then I switched over to Duke's once I learned of it. And then also I'm a huge fan of Kewpie. Our creamy mayo is, I don't know, it's unlike the others. It's very light on the palate and almost like fluffy. It kind of dissolves in this really nice way. And it's got just like a nice hit of acid. Anyway, I think it's pretty phenom. So we've got creamy mayo, but then the real stars of the show are the 3 flavored SKUs. We have dill pickle mayo, we have hot giardineo, which is giardiniera and Calabrian chilies stirred into mayonnaise with a bunch of other yummy stuff. And then we have Dijoneo, which is like a take on that classic mustard mayo condiment, but we've also added a ton of chopped cornichon pickles. Because the thing about these Sando sauces, as we're calling them, is they're not just about flavor, they're also about texture. So they're packed with chopped pickles and pickled peppers and roasted peppers and all sorts of little bits and bobs so that there's like a textural eating experience as well as a flavor bomb.
I can't wait to try these. I do love tuna salad. I'm
Okay,
very particular
amazing.
about my tuna salad. Which of those would you make tuna salad with?
Dill pickle in tuna salad is so good. Making tuna salad at home can be kind of annoying because to make it like really good, like you got to start chopping pickles and maybe you want to chop some herbs and then you need mustard and mayo and you need a little lemon juice and acid. And it's like you actually end up spending a lot of time making tuna salad, which is silly. With the dill pickle Ayoh, it's like just put dill pickle Ayoh on
Oh,
canned
I'm
tuna
very
and like,
excited. I kinda mash the heck out of my tuna until it's practically like a
yes, like
pâté.
pate.
Mhm.
Yes.
Love. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. I also love potato salad. Which would you do potato salad with?
So I would say the Dijonnaise would be like a fantastic potato salad one-stop shop. Boil some potatoes, toss it with Dijonnaise. If you wanna throw some dill or parsley on it, fine, but, like, you're good.
Yum. I also love coleslaw. How about coleslaw?
Okay, so perfect. We'll complete the trifecta. You could make a spicy coleslaw with the hot giardiniera and add in like, I made a slaw the other day that was cabbage, hot giardiniera, basil, and thinly sliced red onion.
Ooh,
So good.
nice. Okay, good. Well, I'm all set. Let's talk about having a product line because I know enough about you to know that when you get into something, you really, really get into it. So I'm
Yeah.
curious how the whole R&D process went, naming the product. Let's start with why you even wanted a CPG line. And a lot of you know what that term means, but it's consumer packaged goods. Why did you even want a CPG line in the first place?
I wanted a CPG line because I have basically 2 missions on this planet. One is to feed people, and the other is to teach people how to feed themselves. And so everything I do trickles down into one of those camps, and if it doesn't, I'm not really interested in doing it. And that's how I think about building my businesses. I realized that a lot of my work to date has fallen into the teach people how to feed themselves category. Obviously, my cookbooks, my startup Bon Appetit being on the YouTube channel there, my own YouTube channel, now my recipe club, like all of that is empowering people to feed themselves. Incredible. Love it. It's the thing that I will do till the day I die. But I realized that there are some people who just aren't interested in cooking, but they love to eat. And that I'm sort of like missing that whole sector of the population by only creating content that encourages people to cook for themselves. And so that's where the product line comes in, where it's like, I still want people to be able to have access to my food and I want to feed people, whether it be directly or through them feeding themselves. And so the product line, especially with something like Ayoh, which is created in order to eliminate the need to cook, is to reach those people. As for the name, we threw around a bunch of names at the beginning. I honestly can't even remember what they were because I was at a Halloween party and we were just like hanging out, carving pumpkins with a bunch of friends. And one of my friends, we posed the question to everyone. We're like, guys, what should I call my Mayo company? What's the one word line? Like, I want this to feel like it's been around forever and I want it to live on forever. And one of my friends just goes, Ayo, straight up, like he pulled it out immediately. He was like really soft spoken about it, just confidently like, Ayo. And I was like, yeah, we're done here. That's the name. It stuck and it's been the name ever since.
It's so perfect. It makes absolute sense for you.
Yeah.
Are you just going to do these for products, or are you thinking this is going to eventually be an entire condiments line?
I think we'll expand. I'm trying to stay laser focused right now, because one thing I've learned in everything I do in my career is the value of focusing on the few and not trying to do everything all at once or even really anticipate what every next move is. So I'm really trying to focus on this being the category that I'm tackling right now, and I want to master it before I move on to other things. I do have other SKUs in the works because if you think about it, mayo is really just like a canvas for flavor. There's sort of infinite possibility in terms of other flavors that we can come out with. I really want to do collabs and bring in like other chefs or other brands to do collab flavors. So I think there's a lot of potential to expand Ayoh that way. But then eventually, yes, I think if this company is a success and people are loving the product, I would like to expand it out into other categories. The first one that comes to mind is salad dressings. I always have had a deep desire / need to make a Caesar salad dressing, obviously. All of the work that we're doing for Ayoh, I think, is propping me up to do that really well.
And do you think all this will be under the umbrella of Ayoh? Is that the name
Yeah.
you've chosen to move forward with? Okay.
Yeah, I think Ayoh Foods will be the umbrella company, the like best foods, if you will, and then there will be other product lines that come out from it.
Okay. How did you find a partner? That's always a tough
Yeah.
part of this.
Through a lot of conversations, we got connected to my business partner, David McCormick, through conversations that I was having with a couple of other people who work in building CPG businesses. And it was sort of like a snowball effect of we got in touch with this woman and she was interested in what my sort of hopes and dreams in the CPG space was. She didn't have time for it at the moment, but she connected me to David, who has done a ton of work in this space. I've been talking about what my product line will be with people for years and just taking informational meetings, chats, coffees with people until I like kind of found my way to the right partner. And that is David, and he is incredible.
Talk to us about the R&D process. I imagine that was a lot, but fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very different process than the recipe development that I do for my books, which is interesting. However, it really did start the same way. When I develop recipes for my cookbooks, I'm in my home kitchen. I'm pulling ingredients out of my pantry, cooking, taking notes, feeding them to my husband for dinner that night, and like assessing how we did and deciding whether it makes it into a book. The Ayoh flavors came about much in the same way initially, where I was making sandwiches at home all the time and testing them out on friends, myself, my husband, and those turned into the SKUs. But from there, took a very different route than they normally do, which is just like to turn into a recipe, but went through formulation. And that's a process that I had never done before, which is figuring out how to commercialize a product and make sure that it is shelf stable and has the like right pH and that we can get the exact right pickle at scale in a consistent way. There's so many considerations to make. And so the scale up and commercialization process has been really interesting. I'm going actually next week for my next round of tastings at the plant where it's all made. And even that is like, you walk into these plants, it doesn't look like a kitchen. It's very industrial. They're making 2,500-pound batches of our mayonnaise. That's a whole nother world that I have just entered.
Have you enjoyed the process?
So much so. I love doing new things in my career, and like it's related to what I know and do well, but at a whole nother level. And there are people that I have been working with that have such expertise in this that really exceed anything that I am good at. And it's so amazing to tap into those new avenues.
How about the distribution? Will this be direct to consumer or do you have some retail partners?
Yeah, so it'll be direct to consumer to begin with. We're launching on November 19th. And then pretty soon after, we'll be in grocery. So the idea is Q1 of next year, so 2025, we will be finding our grocery partners, and they'll be, hopefully, you'll find us in like every little shoppy shop that you expect to see a product like this in. But even bigger than that, I think our hope is to be like in a Sprouts or a Whole Foods and really be able to reach a lot of people. The whole concept of Ayoh is that it's like a brand for everyone. I don't want it to be elitist and only available on the coast and only in expensive shops. I want it to be an everyman product and something that's just table stakes in people's fridges.
But you do know this will be the foodie gift of the holidays for
I'm
2024.
hoping. I
Yeah.
am hoping.
That's going to be interesting. I know everyone's going to, on November 19th, try to get their hands on this product.
I know. I'm very excited for
It is
launch.
very exciting. And did I hear there's some kind of Ayoh or sandwich tour?
Yes.
What's that all about?
So we're gonna send Ayo on tour, much like you would send a musician on tour. Basically, we're going to team up with iconic sandwich shops all around the country in different cities and have them come up with a couple of special menu items that feature Ayo and do like a 1-day menu takeover of Ayo at their sandwich shop. And so we'll announce the tour in the next couple of weeks once Ayo is launched, and people can that way like get a taste of Ayo and what it's really like by going to their favorite sandwich shop. Some of them will sell Ayo as well, and we'll just send it around the country for as long as people will have it.
Your team sent over some stats to me, and the most interesting one I read, and this is going to gross people out if they're not Team Mayo, but Americans on average eat 4 pounds of mayo a year. Is that true?
Oh my God. I must eat 16. 4 pounds feels really low ball for me, but I guess that is to be expected as the founder of a Mayo company.
I was guessing my consumption is probably 8 pounds. So yeah, I guess it
You
makes
think
sense
so?
that you do double that.
Yeah, that I would double that for sure. People either love or hate mayo, but the mayo lovers really hold it down for us. You know what I mean? They're doing 4 pounds a year.
Let's talk about a few other things since we have you here. You have become a breastfeeding advocate, and I'm guessing
What do you know?
you never that was not on your bingo card for
It was
2024.
not.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
How did that happen?
It's a great question. It's funny when I think back to the woman, the person that I was 2 years ago. I distinctly remember having conversations with friends and being like, this is before I even got pregnant, basically being like, I don't know what to do because if and when I get pregnant, how do I avoid being a mom influencer? Because I never want to be that, but like it's going to be so hard to be pregnant and be a mom, but like not want to talk about it because everyone's going to see that I'm pregnant and have a baby. Like, how do I toe that line?
You've shared so much. How do you all of a sudden stop sharing one of the most important things in your life? Yeah.
Exactly. And I really stressed about it. Then made the decision to get pregnant because it was time. It felt right. I felt like I had things set up in the way that I wanted my life to bring someone else into it.
Not to ask you a
And
super personal question, but were you pregnant on the cover?
I was.
You were? Oh, that's
I
so
was
cool.
pregnant on the cover, and I
Oh,
remember being like, "Oh God, I really hope that I don't pop yet." I think I was like maybe 2 weeks pregnant. I had no idea what the journey of a pregnant body was.
we had so many pregnant folks on the cover last year. It
I
was
know. I
really
love
it
that.
was it was a really special year. We need to see what all those babies are up to. But anyway, congrats to all the moms who are on our cover, and thank you for sharing that with Cherry Bomb. That was really special. Yeah, talking to your friends, like not knowing, what
Yeah.
was going to happen.
And then I got pregnant and I realized don't overthink this. Just be you, continue to be you. You will feel your way through it all. I let go of any preconceived notion I had of like how I would show up as a mom or not on social and publicly and just like let myself be where I was. Soon enough, I realized, wow, I love being pregnant. This is so fun and cool. And watching my body change is the most joyous, rewarding thing that has ever happened to me. And I'm going to share that. So that was like step one, just being pregnant and like putting my belly out all the time. I was like, this is so crazy. I have a belly now. Let's show it. So I would just wear crop tops out in the world and like flaunt it because I was excited about it. So I was sort of like dipping my toe into sharing that side of my life. And then I ended up doing that Swell campaign. For those of you guys who don't know what Swell is a company that's like all about empowering women to breastfeed. And they reached out to me and asked me if I would develop a lactation cookie for them as a pregnant woman who was about to have a baby and about to potentially be nursing. I was like, let's do it and let's have fun with it. And so we came up with this sort of fun, wild, silly campaign where I made cookies in the shape of boobs and they shot me. And then they were like, we're going to put this up in Times Square. And I was like, all right. Again, just living in the moment and not overthinking. What does this say about my image? Or how does this relate back to like the version of myself I didn't know I wanted to be? I just was in every moment asking myself if this felt right and if it felt right moving forward. And that's how we got to where we are. That billboard came out. I did a campaign for Special K with my big belly out on a cereal box. And now, as of today, we're up in Times Square with me breastfeeding the child that came out of me, loud and proud. And so I'm really just embracing what comes my way and not judging myself for it.
You aren't judging yourself, but other people did. The first
They
billboard
do.
got taken down. Tell us why.
It did. It got taken down because it was deemed inappropriate content, or it violated the guidelines for what is acceptable content to be promoted on the Clear Channel billboards in Times Square. That was pretty enraging and spurred a lot of talk and controversy. And in a weird way, I am grateful that it got taken down because it got to bring a lot more awareness to an issue that otherwise, if it hadn't gotten taken down, a lot less people would have seen that billboard, because you got to be in Times Square to see it. But instead, it spurred this whole news cycle about like what is going on in media, and why is it that there are naked women, skinny naked women on billboards in Calvin Klein ads that are up for months and months and totally accepted. And then you throw a woman with a pregnant belly up there and it's like, oh my God, take that down. What are we doing? And I kind of stepped into this role of like being a spokesperson for embracing the pregnant body. Like I mentioned, I was so excited by my changing body and proud to share it in my own world and on my own socials and through this campaign. And I feel like all women should feel what that feels like and not be ashamed of it.
Now you are working with Bobby, which is a formula company.
Do you know how inconvenient it is to have to remove yourself every 2 hours from a social setting or a public setting and put yourself into some really disgusting bathroom or nursing zone? Like, I just refuse to do it. People even today, like, for example, I went to the factory that I work that we're making Ayoh at, and they like very graciously were like, here, we have this little room for you to nurse in. And I so appreciate that gesture, but I'm kind of like, no, I'm good. I'm going to sit right here in the middle of this meeting and pump. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I'm pumping, and I don't really care if you guys are weirded out. We're in the middle of a meeting. I'm not going to excuse myself and go sit in a conference room. So yeah, it's pretty wild.
Has your own audience been comfortable with this, or have you gotten pushback from them?
No, I mean, I think my audience is very empowered by it. I think I have a lot of moms and women now who follow me, especially following the Swell campaign. But then news kind of got out around that campaign for Bobby, and people, I think actually with that campaign, where I see more discomfort is around people having opinions about whether formula feeding is okay or good for your baby. There's like a lot going on in that image. Obviously, like I'm breastfeeding publicly, loud and proud. So that's one thing that we're not used to seeing. But then also I'm endorsing combo feeding, which involves introducing formula to an infant or a child he's 4 months at the time. I'm proud of that decision and feel like that's another arena in which women there's so much shame and stigma. There's something so pure about the idea of breastfeeding. So everybody wants us to breastfeed because it's the best possible source of nutrition for our babies. And they don't want us to introduce formula, but then also they don't want to see us breastfeed. It's like the double standard is beyond.
And they also don't want to pay for childcare.
And then there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, there's so much to unpack in this arena that I am now realizing, I just never took the time to really think about all of this double standard and all of the sort of like inequity in this space.
We'll be right back with today's guest. Cherry Bomb's next Jubilee Conference is taking place in New York City on April 12th. Early bird tickets are on sale right now at cherrybomb.com. If you're an official Bomb Squad member, be sure to check your inbox for special member pricing. Jubilee is a conference we started in 2014 as a way to bring women together for networking, conversation, and community. It's a beautiful day filled with friends new and old, great talks and panels, and amazing things to eat and drink. This year's Jubilee will be our biggest and our best one yet. Again, visit cherrybomb.com for early bird tickets. Prices will go up January 1st. The link is in our show notes. Let's talk about a few other things. Drink this wine. You have your great wine line, which I personally love. You launched some new wines.
Yeah, we just launched our latest fall releases. So we have a winter white, which is really fun. It's like a kind of big, broad, oily white wine, which we've never done before, and then like a wintry Gamay blend that I'm very excited about.
All right, go back to oily. People might be like, what? Oily wine?
Oily, it's like the way that it kind of lingers on your palate. If you think about like a really lean, acidic wine, it's sort of like the opposite of that. So, like this white wine that we just released, I tell people to pair it with acidic things. So, like, I love it with pickles. I drink this wine and I eat pickles with really like vinegary salads or like a vinegar braised chicken. It's really good with things that are more like sharp and biting because it's a quite round and warm white.
You love bold flavor.
I do.
Talk to me about the holidays. What are you and the fam going to be up to?
We are going up to Sonoma to rent a house for Thanksgiving. I will probably pack my kitchen in my car and drive it up so that I ensure that I don't arrive at an Airbnb rental without what I need. And then for Christmas, every year I normally go home to upstate New York, which is where I grew up. My parents still have the house I grew up in, but last year we sort of bid farewell to that tradition. I've done it 36 times in my life, and I want to start like a new family tradition around the holidays in our house. And so we're going to stay in California, and I'm going to try to honor the Christmas tradition that my parents spent so much time and energy making magical for us growing up and like pass it on to Boots this year. So we'll be in California, in LA.
A California Christmas. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Thanksgiving. What's a Molly Boss Thanksgiving?
Well, this year I just came out of like a deep recipe development hole where I've been working on Thanksgiving recipes. So I'll be releasing recipes every Friday in my club in November. I do turkey every year. I never do a whole turkey. I don't believe in a whole roasted turkey. I think it's the worst way to cook a turkey. This year, I'm doing a braised turkey. So it's like you buy a turkey and you ask the butcher or the person at the butcher counter at your Whole Foods or whatever to break it down into legs, drumsticks, thighs, breasts. And it gets braised in a spicy, vinegary, kind of sweet maple chili crisp apple cider vinegar situation with kabocha squash. And the squash cooks in with the turkey for 3 hours and it just soaks up all of that flavor. There are shallots and garlic, and it's just a really great way to treat turkey and ensure that it doesn't dry up. So that's probably what I'll make this year. However, I have had it maybe 4 times in the last 2 weeks. So I might switch things up just like for the sake of palate fatigue.
That is the sexiest sounding turkey I have ever
It's
heard
so
of.
sexy.
But how do you have a pot big enough to braise it in?
So it fits in like a standard turkey roasting pan. So
Okay.
like the same pan you would roast your whole turkey in, you just break it down and it all braises covered with foil in that same pan.
Okay, that's great. Where are you on the whole stuffing thing? What kind of stuffing do you do?
I love stuffing. I grew up on the Pepperidge Farm stuff
Classic.
and love. We always added sausage in. If I were to make my own stuffing, I always make the simple is best stuffing, which is a recipe on bonappetit.com. That is just like so classic. You got to use really nice sourdough. I go for like a classic homemade stuffing, or I'll do Pepperidge Farms. I love stuffing it in the turkey. Like if I'm at someone else's house and they're whole roasting a turkey, I'm going straight for the stuffing inside.
Wait, aren't you supposed to not do that anymore?
Yeah, you're supposed to, but I'm like, are you kidding? Most people overcook their turkeys. Like, I definitely think the stuffing is cooked.
Okay, cranberries.
I never used to like it, and then I kind of had this like realization a couple of years ago that the cranberry sauce serves such an important function at the table. I think because I maybe grew up having like an overly sweet version of it. And then once I started making it myself and like working at Bon Appetit and working on cranberry sauce recipes, I realized this is the only tart thing on many Thanksgiving tables, not on mine because I pay a lot of attention to like the importance of acid and vinegar on the Thanksgiving table. But like if you walk into most people's homes on Thanksgiving, it's all carbs and fat. And the cranberry is like such a nice relief from it.
I cut the sugar significantly when I make
I
homemade
think
cranberry
you have
sauce.
to. It's like you don't need it. Also, dessert is coming. It's right around the corner, and like you're gonna eat 17 pies. So
Yeah, absolutely. I have a fight with my family every year, canned versus fresh.
Oh, yeah. I always go fresh, but I just like we were never a canned fam.
Oh, I'm a team of one. My family loves the canned cranberry
Oh,
sauce.
really?
Mhm.
But you don't love it.
I lose that fight every year. And my sorry, Mom, I'm gonna out you right now, but my mother will serve it with still has the ridges on
You
the cran
have to.
yeah.
I mean, you gotta respect where it came from.
Okay, how about the Thanksgiving turkey sandwich the next day?
So glad you asked. Another thing that I've spent maybe too much of my life thinking about. I don't want to eat the entire Thanksgiving table in between two slices of
Oh,
bread.
I disagree, Molly.
Well, so for me, it's like the day after, I want to eat the leftovers. Like, I want to heat up a plate of leftovers and experience the same thing the next day. I think they always taste better the next day. So I'm trying to have like round two of the meal where all the flavors have married. So then the third day, when the turkey breast is starting to get a little dry and sad, that's when the sandwiches come into play. And that's when I'm like, I'm good. I don't need any more mashed potatoes. I don't need any more stuffing. And I want completely different flavor. And this year, I developed 3 sandwiches for Thanksgiving leftovers, none of which feature anything other than the turkey, but all which use Ayo. And they're very delicious.
So is this a turkey salad situation?
So one of them is a turkey salad. One of them is like a turkey melt. So it's all the things you love about a tuna melt, but you're making turkey salad instead. I put a bunch of like really thinly sliced Asian pear in there with Swiss cheese and this dill pickle Ayo turkey salad. It's and griddle it up. It's so good. One of them is what I've called the ham and cran, which is for people who don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving but eat a baked ham, which I know is a smaller portion of the population, but they're out there. And that one uses cranberry sauce on one side of the bread and the Ayo Dijon on another side, and then ham and cheese. And then the third one that I worked on, which I'm really excited about, is a spicy turkey club. So it's a triple decker club with sopressata instead of bacon that you crisp up, and then hot giardiniera slathered all over with potato chips.
You are good at your job, Molly Boz. That sounds
And
great. No, I like the basic good bread, a little toasted, not fully toasted, with the layer of turkey, cranberry, and stuffing with a ton of mayo.
okay, well, at least you're hitting the mayo. You can use Ayo mayo for that.
All
Yeah.
right, let's do a little speed round. What beverage do you start your morning with?
A pistachio milk cappuccino.
Sweetened, unsweetened?
The pistachio milk is lightly sweetened.
Okay. Do you use Tash or somebody else's?
I use Tash. I use the original, not the unsweetened one, because I feel like it needs like a tiny bit of sweetness.
Got it. What's always in your fridge?
Oh my goodness. Herbs. So many herbs. Jars and jars of herbs. And then tons and tons of condiments. Pickles. So many pickles. Pickles and herbs.
You are our dill queen. Whenever I have dill in my fridge, I always think of you. What are you streaming right now?
Oh my goodness. Nothing. Honestly, the last 3 nights, me and Ben have laid in bed being like, what are we doing? Watching reruns of Friends. So that's like kind of how dire it is for me.
Is that because of the political situation or just all the stuff you have going on?
Yeah, like I can't watch that before bed. Kind of feel like I'm like entrenched in the news all the time. And then before bed, I need something mindless. And so I have been watching Friends.
What was your favorite childhood food?
That's a great question that no one's ever asked me. I want to ask my parents what they would say to that. One of my strongest childhood memories, and maybe this is coming up just because we're talking about Thanksgiving, but I remember so deeply loving the Libby's pumpkin pie that I would make with my dad every year at Thanksgiving. It was always our job to make it, and we would make it different every year. We would always add like some kind of little special ingredient, whether it was like a little maple syrup or a honey or a this. And that was like our special thing. And I love like an artisanal pumpkin pie, but give me a slice of Libby's pumpkin pie and I'm like straight back to childhood.
What's your favorite food smell?
Probably the smell of like a steak coming off of a wood-fired grill.
What's your favorite food movie?
I just recently watched that new film with Juliette Binoche. Did you see it?
The Taste of Things. Mm-hmm.
The Taste of Things. And the movie was quite slow, but I had just gotten back from a trip to Paris and a trip to the French countryside. And I was like living in a chateau that looked a lot like the house that she cooked in. And so it was like very transportive and meditative for me. And the cinematography around the food in that film is incredible.
Yeah. There's not too much of a plot, but if you're in food and
Exactly.
care at all about food styling or kitchens, you have to watch that movie.
Must.
What's your favorite kitchen implement or tool?
Probably the microplane. I think it's called for in like 80% of my recipes.
Cool. Dream travel destination?
Japan. I've been dying to go back to Japan. I want to go with Willet. I've never been with my husband, and I need to eat around that country again.
Yeah. I've never been. It's at the top of my list. Okay, last question. If you had to be trapped on a desert island with one food celebrity, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, you have to be so strategic about this. I feel like I'd have to say, I don't know if this counts. I think this is a celebrity. Francis Mallman is probably who I'd want to be on a desert island with because I know he would make a mean, long-lasting fire and we would be really well fed. I don't even know him personally, but I'm like, I want this guy by my side.
Well, maybe now you'll be friends, but that's a good practical answer, Molly Boz. Gives us lots of insight into your brain.
Yeah.
Well, listen, so great to talk to you. Congratulations on this launch.
Thank you, Kerry. So good to see your face, and thanks for the chat.
That's it for today's show. Did you know the Cherry Bomb Podcast Network has a baking podcast? We do. It's called She's My Cherry Pie. It is the #1 baking podcast in the country, and new episodes drop on Saturdays. It's hosted by Jessie Sheehan. If you are a baker, a baked good lover, a baker lover, whatever, give a listen. Radio Cherry Bomb's theme song is by the band Tra La La. Joseph Hazen is the studio engineer at Newsstand Studios at Rockefeller Center. Our producers are Catherine Baker and Jenna Sadu, and our editorial coordinator is Sophie Keys. Thanks for listening, everybody. You're the bomb.